Canada and the US and the UK, we're all considered allies. We're all part of NATO and all that kind of stuff. And my dad was in the army, right? So he's got a different view on how, like, he's one of the allies, right? And I've often questioned, I'm saying, are we really the allies? Are we really the good guys? Like, should we be, I mean, if you take a look around the world, the majority of the wars are being controlled by our side of the fence. Like we start them, we end them, we decide what's what. Like, we're not every war, but the big ones. For the last 100 years or so, they've all been from this side of the fence. And it's and I find that disturbing, because like I'm thinking, like, as we talk about the Nazis as being the bad guys, we talk about the Russians as the bad guys, and I think, like, sometimes, are they really? Like, are they really the bad guys? I don't know. And I mean, and is there any bad guys? Like, I know that when it comes to war, even if there is a bad side and a good side, 99.9% of the people are just people. They have no interest in the fight. They have no dogs in the fight, as they would say. They were born under a certain flag, and therefore they have to fight for a certain team, and their life is expendable for an ideal that they have no idea that's even part of their birth. And that scares me a lot. I know that you and I both feel the same way about war. It shouldn't happen, regardless of who's on what side of what. And I hope that especially in the dawn of robots and AI, like, I'd love to. I think the biggest reason we haven't gone to robots fighting wars is I think that would really open up the absurdity of what it really is. Like, if we fought wars with just drones and robots in the middle of fields, people would probably realize, like, hey, what's the fuck is the point of this? But it would probably take that, like, when human lives are invested, all of a sudden it's important. But when you have machines doing it, it'd be like, this is just stupid now.
I don't think so. I think the opposite. I think when it gets to that, everybody will be quite happy with war. They'll just set aside an area. It might be Ukraine, it might be Palestine, it might be someplace in Africa. Hardly anybody lives in Africa, after all. So there's some cobalt there that you need, or some oil, or something that you need, and you just go there and have a fully mechanized war with people back in the States or in the UK or wherever it is, sort of twiddling joysticks and stuff and blowing one another up, or the AI's taking care of it, and I think everybody will go, yeah, that's fine. Nobody's getting killed, so it's fine.
Could we put that even to the digital realm? Like, just take it away from the three-dimensional space and just do the same thing? Like, have a bunch of people play Nintendo over the fight? Like, like Mario Kart. That's Mario Kart for the oil.
Well, what was that film, War Games? There's a sort of thing like that, wasn't there? With the
Ender's Game?
Ender's Game
what are you thinking of?
That's a David Brin book, isn't it? I thought it... Yeah, there's Ender's Game I'm sure it's David Brin. I've read that. But there's War Games.
Yeah, it's good.
The film called War Games, which has got a very young Matthew Broderick in it, I think.
Oh, that one. Yeah, okay, yeah, I know that one.
He thinks he's playing a computer game, but he's not.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what Ender's Game is like too, right? This kid thinks he's playing a video game,
God,
and he's actually fighting the most important war we've ever fought against aliens, right? Like, and if he loses, we're all dead.
Yeah, is that right? I've read the book, but I have no memory of it. Yeah, so you're obviously you're probably right.
But it's the same kind of concept, except for in War Games, it's almost a war with Russia or something. And then
that's right. Yeah,
in Ender's Game, we're having a war with aliens or something, and we're losing. And they have these kids that are really good at these video games, and they have them do this thing, and it's supposed to be a simulation preparing for this big war.
Uh-huh.
And then when he wins, they let him know, like, you actually just won the war. Like, this was, but he didn't know he was actually fighting the real fight until he won. And it's it's crazy. But yeah, it's but like, that's, I would like to see it without the consequence. I like to see it without the because I mean, the thing I liked about Starship Troopers and that idea is that once the existential threat hits, Earth becomes one. Like, there's no more division of ideals anymore, and it doesn't matter where you're from and what language you speak and what kind of food you like to eat. When something threatens the world as a whole, from outside, and all of a sudden we're on the same team, and
you'd like to think so, wouldn't you? You'd like to think so, but I'll tell you what would actually happen. Somebody here would be trying to side with the aliens, definitely. In fact, it's probably already happened.
Oh, you're watching too much Third Body Problem.
Yeah, well, I think that was what I liked about one of the things I loved about that show. I tried to read the book, but I didn't get on with it. But in fact, I owe you some thanks, because you mentioned that you read stuff on a Kindle, and we were talking about books or something. I can't remember actually, but I suddenly realised how much I missed reading, and it was Three Body Problem. And you said, oh, you'd read the book and you thought it was good. I thought, God, I'd love to read that book. I'd love to read that book because the show was so good.
Yeah.
So I went and got the book, and I tried to read. I wanted to show him because I got my original Kindle from like last century almost, with the keyboard on it and all that kind of stuff. So I tried reading on that, and it's so heavy, and it's got these buttons on the side that you have to press to change the page, and I wasn't getting on with it at all. And you had mentioned you had one with a touch screen, and if you wanted to know what that word was, you could press the screen and it would tell you what the word is. And I thought, that sounds like a good idea. So I managed to get this wee Kindle, and it's so much better.
Yeah.
It's just the screen. It's lighter, fits in your pocket. The touch screen, it's not great response wise, but it does what you want, and you just tap the side of it to change rather than pressing the button. And I've been reading books, Chris, thanks to you.
Happy to hear that.
So thank you for that. So that's another feather in your cap as far as I'm concerned. I didn't get on with Three Body Problem though. I enjoyed the beginning of it, but then I kind of realised this is a translation, and I'm not sure what's going on. It got into the second or third chapter after the main character is sort of arrives at the transmission station in the early part of the book. And then it cuts to many years later, and you're in a kind of war. It sounds like you're in a war room. And I started reading, where is this? What is happening? And I didn't understand what was happening. And then I realised, wait a minute, this is not a good way to start my reading again. So I thought, wait a minute, I need to read something that I know that I can just fall straight into. So I went and read Roads to Moscow by my friend David Wingrove, which, if anybody's listening, I would recommend. It's a time travel thing, but David writes. He writes like I would write. It's so easy. I just fall straight into it. So I read that, but I'll go back to Three Body Problem at some point and get into that again. So I've still got it there. But I've been enjoying reading. Which is a thing I used to do, but it's taken me, I think, this long after retiring from work to get to the point where I can read without speed reading, because when I was at work I had to speed read all the time. We used to read legal documents, and it was like, a 100-page legal document that you had to read as quickly as you could to get all the information out of it. So I stopped reading in the 90s at some point, probably because of that, because I just couldn't stand to be reading when I came home. So but I'm back into it now.
I get that. I was a little jealous because I'd love to get back into reading, and I tried a bit because you sent me some books, and I have some books I'm in the middle of, including Three Body Problem, and I'm so stretched, and I hate to make excuses for it, but
no, if you've not got the time, you've not got the time, man. I get that. Yeah.
And it's something I have to, I keep envisioning time in the future, and I know it's going to come because I can't continue at this pace without going insane, right? But it's the mother of invention and necessity, all that thing, right? I'm trying to make a different life for myself right now, so it's